Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Once again, let's proceed on with the chapter water in chemistry. So I had taken up the reaction of water with metallic oxides and reaction of water with non-metallic oxides. Told you that when oxides of active metal like sodium, potassium and calcium react, they react with cold water and they form their respective hydroxides, that is alkalis. So higher the metal in the activity series, the ease with which it will react with water will be more. That means with metals like sodium, potassium and calcium, they react with cold water and form their respective hydroxide. And the reactions are exothermic in nature. For example, you have the reaction Na2O plus H2O gives you 2NaOH. I'm not writing it in a single line, but it's supposed to be written in a single line only. Is that clear? So this proceeds in the cold condition, that the water is cold. Is that clear? And the reaction of metal with non-metallic oxides, they react to form acids, corresponding acids. Is that clear? So non-metallic oxide like sulfur dioxide, carbon dioxide, phosphorus pentaoxide, sulfur trioxide, they react to form the corresponding acids like carbonic acid, sulfurous acid, nitric acid, sulfuric acid, phosphoric acid and so on. Is it clear? Then I had told you for the test for water, told you that water freezes at the freezing point of water is how much? It is 0 degree Celsius, and the melting point, or you can call it, the boiling point is equal to 100 degree Celsius. Now this is specific for water only. Is it clear? Both the things, freezing point and boiling point. Then there is a test with cobalt fluoride paper, which is pink in color, blue in color, and when it is moist, that is when a few drops of water are added to the blue cobalt fluoride paper, it turns pink. You can see when it comes in contact with water only. With any other liquid it will show another color, but this is the characteristic color of cobalt fluoride paper, that it turns pink when a few drops of water are added to the blue colored cobalt fluoride paper. Then another test is with the anhydrous copper sulfate solution, which we have already discussed. This is anhydrous copper sulfate solution, and this is white in color. When a few drops of water are added to it, it turns blue and changes into hydrated copper sulfate, that is what water of crystallization is added to it. This added, and this is blue in color. And without this is anhydrous copper sulfate. Is that clear? With the water of crystallization, it is hydrated copper sulfate. Now when this happens, when only a few drops of water added to it, so the color change is seen. We have discussed the hard and soft water, that is water that does not contain salts of calcium and magnesium and forms lather with soap solution. It is called soft water, while water that contains salts of calcium and magnesium and does not form lather with soap solution is called the hard water. So detergents usually give a good lather with any water. So they are, you can say, they are made for any kind of water which readily gives a lather with soap, not detergents. It describes soapy soap means a soap that you are using for washing your toilet soap, like Lux, Synthol and other type of brands. But detergents generally give a lather with soap because they contain certain elements which make the water soft, and the result is that water lather is formed. Is that clear? So this is hard and soft water, and some of these dissolved substances make the water hard, that is the water containing salts of calcium, magnesium. Is that clear? So the hardness of water does not affect the detergent, while the hardness of water does affect the normal soaps. Is that clear? Then hardness is of two types, that is temporary hardness and permanent hardness. And this temporary hardness is due to the presence of calcium and magnesium bicarbonates, and the permanent hardness is due to the presence of chlorides of sulfates and chlorides of sulfates of or you can say chlorides and sulfate. This is not of, but and sulfates of magnesium and calcium. Is that clear? And this temporary hardness can be removed by boiling, but this permanent hardness, by the name permanent, means it will not be removed by boiling, and it is forever. That means it will last everlasting unless and until you treat it with some special chemicals. Hardness removal is cheap, that is just boil it, and here hardness removal by using expensive chemicals, it is expensive. This we will discuss today, that is removal of hardness. Then I had discussed about the disadvantages of hard water, that it is, first of all, it is difficult to form lather with soap, so washing clothes and other things is difficult by using hard water. Then we need to remove the hardness of water so that it can be used wherever it is needed, that is both in the factories and at home. And generally it is done by removing the dissolved salts of calcium and magnesium, and once these salts have been removed, then the water becomes soft. And how is it being done, we will discuss now. That is removal of temporary hardness first. Is that clear? So first of all, I have told you that boiling can remove temporary hardness. We can boil water to remove temporary hardness, and this temporary hardness in water can be easily removed by just boiling. What happens on boiling? When the temporary hard water is heated and boiled for some time, the soluble calcium magnesium bicarbonate present in it decompose into insoluble calcium carbonate. Is that clear? Insoluble calcium carbonate and magnesium carbonate. If here we are using magnesium bicarbonate, this reaction with magnesium bicarbonate, this is the bicarbonate radical HCO3, this is radical bicarbonate, and by boiling it will change into magnesium carbonate. Is that clear? This is insoluble, that is why a downward arrow has been given. This is carbon dioxide and water. Is that clear? So the insoluble calcium carbonate and magnesium carbonate can be filtered out. Is that clear? And what is obtained is just soft water. This is left, and this will also be eliminated by further boiling it. So what are you doing? First of all, if suppose we are taking this in a container and we are heating it, is that clear? We are heating it. Then what is happening? An insoluble layer of calcium bicarbonate or magnesium bicarbonate is being formed, and then this is filtered. And when this is filtered, what is left behind is just soft water, and carbon dioxide is eliminated by further boiling it. Is it clear? Now I have told you that permanent hardness is caused by what? It is caused by the calcium and magnesium chlorides and sulfate dissolve in it. Is that clear? Now here, instead of calcium bicarbonate as in hard water, temporary hard water, we have magnesium sulfate or calcium sulfate or magnesium chloride and calcium chloride. Is that clear? So we can add washing soda to it. We have discussed this when we were discussing the efflorescent substances. This contains water of crystallization. Yes or no? So point to note is that we are just not using this part just now in the reaction, but otherwise it is the whole thing. So we add a little washing soda to this permanent hard water. Is that clear? So this is added to the water, and what happens when washing soda is added to hard water? It reacts with the calcium salts and with the magnesium salt, that is calcium salt here and magnesium salt here, and it will form again over here also, it will form insoluble calcium carbonate and insoluble magnesium carbonate. Is that clear? And this carbonate, again this water can be filtered. This is filtered out. Now what you are left behind is sodium sulfate. Now this sodium sulfate, although it is present in water, but it will not make the water hard, so it is safe to use. the hardness of water has been eliminated once this calcium sulfate and magnesium chloride have converted into insoluble calcium carbonate and magnesium carbonate. Now, although water is still containing sodium sulfate, but water has become soft. Is it clear? Now, there is an activity to show that washing soda removes hardness of water. Now, what do we do in this activity? Now, what do we do in this? We take 2 test tubes, magnesium chloride, washing soda, a filter paper, tap water and soap solution. Now, we label them as test tube A and test tube B. Is that clear? Take some tap water in a test tube. In this we take tap water. This is tap water. Is that clear? And in another, in the same test tube, we add a pinch of magnesium chloride. We add magnesium chloride to this. Is that clear? And so I told you that chlorides of how does permanent hardness occur? Because of the presence of calcium and magnesium chlorides and sulfates. So we have added magnesium chloride to this, so this water has become hard water. Is that clear? Now this same water is poured in another test tube. Half of this water is taken and poured into test tube B, and we add to this water, we add washing soda to this, that is Na2CO3. Is that clear? Now what happens when we add washing soda to it? Then a white layer of calcium carbonate forms over here. Is that clear? A white layer of what forms over here? Magnesium carbonate, sorry, because magnesium chloride was added. Is that clear? This insoluble layer is formed. This is of magnesium carbonate. Now what happens to this? Add some soap solution in both the test tube. First, before doing this, we filter this out. When we filter this becomes what? This becomes soft water, because we have removed this insoluble residue, that was insoluble part of the test tube we have removed. Now what do we observe when we add soap solution? Here in this tap water in which we had added magnesium chloride, this is still hard, so there will be no lather formation. But here, just because we have filtered out magnesium carbonate by adding washing soda to this has become soft. Now when magnesium chloride is mixed with the tap water changes into hard water, as I have told you just now. And when we add washing soda in hard water, white insoluble solid, which I have told you just now, and we had filtered it out, the water that is obtained after filtration is soft and therefore lather is formed. So we can conclude that washing soda removes hardness. It can be used to remove hardness of water, and I have already shown you the reactions. Then water pollution. Now when any undesirable waste or undesirable substance is added to water, directly or indirectly, intentionally or unintentionally, it causes pollution of water. Is that clear? So in other words, we can say it is the contamination of water with unwanted or undesirable substance, and that make it unfit for drinking. Is that clear? It is called water pollution. So these unharmful and substances that contaminate the water, make it unfit for consumption, unfit for drinking, these substances are known as water pollutants. So what are water pollutants? Examples of water pollutants are that they are domestic sewage, industrial waste, pesticide, fertilizers, detergents, chemicals, oils and grease are all examples of water pollution. And these pesticides and fertilizers are from lawns, gardens or from fields. Then oil, grease and chemical from our cars and trucks, heavy metals and chemical from construction sites and factories. Then it can be affected by chemicals and pollution from runoff also, runoff from the fields. Is that clear? Which we will discuss later on in this chapter. So let's discuss these causes of water pollution in detail. So you must have seen farmers spraying pesticides and fertilizers in the field. Pesticides are chemical which are used to eradicate the pest, that is the animals which are harmful for the crops, or fertilizers are chemicals which are added to the soil to make the soil fertile, that is to increase the productivity of the soil. Now what is happening is they are being sprayed, and then how do these fertilizers and pesticides harm us or harm the water? Now these chemicals do what? They dissolve in water and ultimately find their way to water body which is nearest to them. You can see this is a water body which is passing nearby a lawn or a field or a garden or a park. So this seeps, all the pesticide and insecticide which has been sprayed in this seeps into this nearby water body, and this water body becomes unfit for aquatic life that is present. If we are not using it, is not that much clean that it will be used for drinking, or even after treatment of this water we might be using it in a municipal supply, and these chemicals are dangerous for the aquatic life, that is the fishes and all the animals which are living inside this water body, or the plants which are inhabiting this water body, and they make water unfit for drinking and other purposes. That is, it becomes unfit for aquatic life, as it and also apart from aquatic life it is also harmful for human consumption. In the domestic sewage, all the liquid waste from the homes and whatever vegetables and fruits or other packages that we are using, they are, and the kitchen and toilet waste, all they are also being discharged into the main rivers through sewage system, and at times it is dumped like this on the sides. Is that clear? This waste is being dumped like this. You can see the plastic bags and other type of waste, and this is a source of water pollution. Is that clear? Then apart from this human activity, this is also an example of human activities, other kind of human activities that pollute the water. Now this kind of activity that people are enjoying, yachting and boating in this water body, they might be throwing whatever they are eating, they might be discarding the various packets that they are using for eatables, or they may be throwing the disposable items in the, they may be throwing the eatable themselves in the water body. So it pollutes the water body. Then the washing of clothes in the nearby lake and river also pollutes it. It makes it dirty. And then of course the detergent that is used is non-biodegradable. It does not decompose further into anything simpler, and it pollutes the water, and it is very harmful for the aquatic life. Now another water pollutant is oil spill. You can see this brown part in the sea. This is all oil that has been spilled in the sea through the oil tanker by accident or intentionally, like it was done in the Gulf War. The oil tankers were bombarded and all the oil spilled inside the sea, and this caused a great hazard for the it posed a great difficulty for aquatic life. Apart from this, the birds also which hovered around the sea in order to eat the fishes, they also, their wings got spilled with the oil, and they couldn't fly. It was a death of the fishes as well as the birds which are dependent on them. Then oil spill through oil tankers is one of the major causes of water pollution, and it harms the aquatic marine plants as well as the aquatic life, that includes the plants and animals both. So it is a great damage to the whole ecosystem of the ocean or marine ecosystem. And at times a large amount of water which is used by power plants for cooling is being discharged continuously into the nearby water body. So what is there? It is increasing the temperature of that water body also, and that could be harmful for the aquatic life. Is that clear? The aquatic life, that is both the animals and plants which are inhabiting that particular water body. Now what are the methods of prevention and control of water pollution? Now this is how you can see the fish have died. These are the various species of fishes which have died just because of the water pollution, the mass killing of the fishes around the seas, oceans, rivers, just because of different causes of water pollution. Now this is a very common sight in Gomti river, and many such water bodies which are in our city. As well as you move around the city, you can see such sites. They are very common. So we should discourage this, that is the bathing of human beings and animal, washing clothes and cleaning utensils. Water body should be restricted to specific parts of that particular water body and should not be allowed at all the places. Is that clear? An excessive use of fertilizers and pesticides in agriculture should be discouraged, so that this is not promoted. So instead we should use organic farming. What is organic farming? Now organic farming, you can see that we are not using any chemicals, but we use different type of residues of animals and plant waste matter, animal waste matter, that is in the form of manures or vermicompost, using earthworms for fertilizing the soil. That is the manure formed by the decomposition process and by the earthworms. We use this kind of manure. Then green leaf manure, then crop rotation, that one leguminous plants are rotated in order to make the soil more fertile. Then different types of biological management are done, that and animal husbandry, then biofertilizers. These are different ways of organic farming, that we are using the animal and plants for growing their residues or their correct usage. We are not using any chemicals. So organic farming is done in order to just reduce or prevent this water pollution or any kind of pollution which is there by the usage of the different types of chemicals. Is that clear? Then excessive use of fertilizers and pesticides in agriculture should be discouraged. So we use organic farming, and this should be encouraged. Is that clear? Then these are biodegradable detergents, that is they decompose into simpler substances and reduce or prevent the water pollution. They should be encouraged. These are examples of biodegradable detergents. Then the public should be educated about the harmful effects of water pollution, and for this generally the people living in the rural areas or in the slums, they should be discouraged from defecating in the open, defecating then passing out their waste. This is a very common sight in the mornings, that people are defecating in the open, and they are a great source of water pollution for the nearby water body. Is that clear? So this should be discouraged. We should strictly follow the rule enforced by the government to control pollution. Then domestic and industrial sewage should be treated at the sewage treatment plant. This is the treatment plant, or how this treatment process is done before it is being released into the main water body. And so this removes toxic substances from water. So you can see the residential wastewater, all the waste that is coming through toilets or other parts of the house, and the industrial waste that comes in the main sewer, and then it attaches itself the main sewer of the city. Then it is treated. It is sent to the treatment plant where it is treated, and then after treatment, when it becomes non-toxic, it becomes non-toxic or it is not harmful, then it is discharged into the main water body of the city. Is it clear? So go through all these. Allah Hafiz.